Everybody, and thank you so much for joining me. Today we are going to talk about my 55-pound weight loss and how I got rid of the weight, and also the sneaky little, I don't know if we want to call it metaphysical or spiritual or what the right word would be, but I felt like this was appropriate to talk about on my channel. Weight loss isn't really appropriate, but what clicked for me and how I lost the weight is 100% relevant. So if you're interested in learning how I went from 200 pounds to 145 pounds, then stick around and I'll tell you the tea. I have struggled with my weight since I was a teeny tiny child. Definitely too young to even be worried about my weight, but I feel like that's just like a societal problem these days. I can pin down the exact moment that it started. My daycare had a belly shirt day, which, what the fuck? I mean, I kind of want to pass it off as just being the 90s, but how weird is that to have a belly shirt day in preschool? I was like 3. Anyways, I have a scar from here to, let's see, can you see it? Yeah, you can see it through my clothes. I have a scar from here to here. They had to like do some surgery, and I went to put on my belly shirt because I had one again at 3 years old. It was the 90s, and my mom said, "Are you sure you want to wear that?" And I'm like thinking, why not? Why the fuck would I not want to wear it? And she was like, "Oh, your scar will show." Now, I know that this woman probably did not mean any harm. She probably just didn't want people asking questions and for me to feel self-conscious about it. So I can't really blame her because that probably would have happened. People would be like, "Why do you have that scar? La la la." But that moment, I developed a severe complex. Like, I used to cry at the thought of somebody seeing my stomach. Like, a boo-hoo. Like, it was like this existential dread for somebody to see my stomach, which led to a path of me not appreciating my body and not appreciating my stomach, and the fact that I'm a fucking alive because of that surgery. And all those feelings and guilt and whatever just led me to not caring. I was always in a one piece. In fact, I don't even think my mom would buy me a 2-piece. I just had really unhealthy coping mechanisms for that shame and guilt that I felt about my body. Then as time went on, I just struggled with it. I didn't eat healthy. I didn't care because I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt I was never going to show my body off anyway. And I would gain weight and get really depressed, and kids would call me fat, and I had frizzy hair and huge lips and big hips, and I went through it. I fucking went through it in school. But shortly before I got pregnant, I dedicated myself. I started eating healthy. I started taking care of my body. And while I still at this point had decided I'm not going to show my body off, I at least thought I'm going to try and take care of my body because I want to live a long and happy and healthy life. Then as soon as I was starting to see some progress, I got pregnant, which just blew it the fuck out of the water. Okay, I had gestational diabetes, and they put me on this like low sugar, high fat diet, and there were only like 10 foods on there that looked good to me, and so I ate sausage and grits every day. I was 215 pounds the day that I gave birth, so I gained every bit of what I had and more back. I lost the pregnancy weight. I was doing really good. I'd had Tyson. I opened up my metaphysical store, and that's when the binge eating started. In this time, I was also assaulted. I have a whole other video about that, which led to just sheer depression eating. I found myself super depressed and relying on food as comfort. This isn't brand new information. This isn't going to change anybody's life hearing that we use food to satiate our feelings. However, I want to break down exactly what an empath might be doing. So between just regular ass depression, weight gain, and also working with clients, I found myself really relying on food in a way that, although I had struggled with my weight prior, I didn't really like rely on food. I just wasn't a healthy eater. I honestly wasn't taught any better. So at this point, I'm out of the thick of my depression, but I still have these unhealthy eating patterns. It's like I would work out and I would eat clean all day, and then I would go home and like fuck chewing. Like I would inhale 5,000 calories, I swear, in one sitting. I didn't understand that it was binge eating, okay? I understand now that that is an eating disorder. It's disordered eating, and I absolutely did it. I would eat like a rabbit throughout the day, and I would work out, but I honestly didn't even know any different or any better, and I don't think that I particularly cared. Like, obviously, I was conscious about my weight. Obviously, I was trying to do better, but I didn't understand that I had an eating disorder. I didn't understand that, like, binge eating, because when I heard eating disorder, I just thought of anorexia or bulimia. I never once in my life thought eating too much food was also disordered eating. And that's dumb, I understand, but I didn't know. So at this point in my life, I am still eating unhealthy, not really giving a whole lot of thought into the fact that I have an eating disorder, and I come across this book that changed my life. It's called Positive Energy by Dr. Judith Orliff. I believe that that's what it is. I'm going to post a picture right here. I let somebody borrow this book and they did not return it, but I had it. And in this, she speaks about the spiritual, I don't know what she calls it, a spiritual eating disorder, the empath's eating disorder. This entire book is how to use being an empathetic person as a superpower and not as a burden, because it's so high holy roller whenever you say like being an empath is such a burden. We should all be empathetic people. However, if you are highly empathetic, then you do feel that, like you literally feel it's, I don't think that we should be using the word empathy. Like, empathy is a regular ass human emotion. Like, I think it's something else when we tap into other people and literally feel what they feel. She has a whole chapter in her book about gaining weight and disordered eating due to energetic reasons. And the reason is that we are trying to create more of ourselves to act as a buffer between us and another person, or between us and our feelings. And when I read that, everything clicked. I mean, it's taken me, I would say, because I've done it really slow, because I will still, when I have a bad day, try to eat my feelings less and less as time goes on, because it's a practice. It takes a lot of awareness and it's a lot of work. Like, it's way more work than actually working out. You guys, I have lost this weight by drinking green tea. I'll incorporate apple cider vinegar into my diet. But as far as like actually working out and exercising, I try to make a point of moving my body 20 minutes a day. I also dance a lot, so sometimes I'll end up dancing for like an hour, but it's nothing very strenuous. Like, my exercise is absolutely minimal. The difference has been in not eating my feelings and understanding when I get that urge to binge, what am I actually trying to create a buffer for? Because it's not actually food. There would be times where I would be eating and be like, and have to take a breath because my ass was fucking full. But I was just shoving the shit down my throat. First of all, repressing my emotions, but also unconsciously trying to create a barrier between what I was feeling and these other people in my life. The assault fucked me up for so long. Also, at this point, I had a metaphysical store and we're just constantly interacting with people who are also very aware. And I feel like people who are aware tend to have a bigger projection, whether that's good or bad, and whether they're doing it intentionally or not. I would have a lot of people come in like stinky ass moods, wanting this crystal or that crystal or whatever, and that was all fine and dandy. But the fact is that I was surrounded in all of this energy and all these different varying frequencies, and I felt like I needed to create more of myself. Something clicked in my head whenever I read that, and I knew that that was the truth, but putting it into practice was probably one of the most difficult things, because obviously we are doing that to ourselves because we don't want to feel certain things. It was much easier to accept that I was trying to create space between me and some people in my life, and that's easy to deal with. But as far as like, what are you trying not to feel, like in yourself, what feeling are you trying to create space from? And that's where the brunt of the work comes in, and what is most difficult. Exercising for me, not that difficult. And so this video may not help everybody. This is I don't want to say super specific, and honestly, like, you guys may not even understand if you have experienced this at some point in your life, or if you're dealing with it now. I don't remember where I was going with that because I got distracted, but I will say, anytime I got the urge to binge, anytime I would walk into my food cabinet, I would sit there, clear my mind, take a couple deep breaths, and figure out what it was that I was resistant to feel. Because at this point in my life, it was habitual. It wasn't like some big dramatic thing had to happen and then I would go eat my feelings in the kitchen. Like, this was a nightly, daily routine. So I'd stop and I would be like, what are we trying not to feel right now? And I would let that information come to me. And you know, for a while it was like, I'm just eating. Like, because I didn't want to do the work. My brain, my conscious, whatever it was, did not want to do the work. It wanted to placate the issue and just eat. If I'm not mistaken, I actually started with the times when there was a triggering event. Like, if I got super stressed all of a sudden and then went to the kitchen, I would be like, what is it that we're trying not to feel? Is it anger? Is it, you know, sadness? Is it feeling like somebody's done you dirty? Like, what is it that we are creating space through. And sometimes the answer would be very, very obvious. And the reason why I think it's taken me so long to completely rid myself of this problem is that a lot of it was just suppressed underlying shit. Like, there maybe wasn't a particular reason throughout the day that I felt like doing this, but it was just like a fucking shit show of a mess that I had been holding and carrying with me that I was trying to create space between. So it wasn't so much of like obvious and apparent work that I could be doing, but just a conscious effort to understand, even if I'm not sure what it is that I am afraid to feel, there's something that I am afraid to feel. And it was like slowly the ball unraveled and I was just able to purge and release. And I do have a video on purging and releasing. I think I want to make a video specific about that because it's in my spiritual awakening video. But when your body starts to purge old emotions, like, it will come out in the form of tears. There were so many times, or like hyperventilating even, and when you try to connect your ego as to why that's happening to you, that's dangerous. Okay, when you really sit with yourself in a present moment and ask yourself what you're afraid to feel, like, I shit you not, this shit is going to start coming up. You might get elated, happy out of nowhere, very, very angry out of nowhere, very, very sad out of nowhere, but you just have to feel that and honor it and then release it. Because when you try to figure out, okay, why am I feeling this? That's giving your ego a job to do, and your ego will drudge up something or invent something to stick to that emotion. Just understand that you are purging old ass energy out of your body, and it doesn't fucking matter where it came from or how long it's been there. You just have to get it out. And I would do that instead of eating. Like, I would go to, I ate. I would go into the kitchen and I'd be like, okay, what are we afraid to feel? Like, I invite that to come up to the surface and release it. And then I would either get mad or get sad or whatever it was, but I would just sit there in the moment and just honor that I've had a fucking crazy ass hard life and that I probably don't even know everything that's happened to me. Also, I firmly believe in genetic memory, where we inherit certain shit from our ancestors. So you might be carrying pain from your ancestors in your body, and you definitely can't attach your ego to that because that it's not going to work. But what will happen is your ego will attach itself to something to help you figure out your problem. Just when you feel those feelings, feel it, honor it, be like, I am feeling mad, and then just imagine it like just dissipating. Because if your ego doesn't attach itself to it and it doesn't try and find a reason, eventually it will untangle itself and let itself go. And the only way to experience that is to try it. There's no way to overly explain how to do it other than to tell you not to attach your ego, and that it really does just magically dissipate itself when you allow it to, and you don't try and fix the feeling. We try to fix our feelings, and that is a fundamental error in our behavior. Sometimes it's just energy, because our emotions are on the energetic spectrum, and sometimes we just have to clear that shit out. And eventually it does get cleared out. I do not binge eat anywhere near. I probably catch myself over snacking once, twice a month, but no, I wouldn't call it a full binge the way that I used to. And I'm also not exactly where I want to be. I just hit my first goal weight. I have more that I want to lose. I want to tone up some of this. I mean, saggy skin is just something that happens whenever you lose weight, and it is what it is, and I'm learning just to like become friends with it. But I'm in a much better place physically and mentally just by allowing myself to purge those feelings and understanding that I was just simply trying to create more of me because I didn't want to interact with people that I was being forced to interact with or felt like I had to interact with. And then you will realize who it is in your life that you are trying to separate yourself from, and who you feel like you need a barrier more of yourself to distance yourself from them, and then you can make the decision to cut them off. And if it's not somebody you can cut off, then you can, learn to energetically protect yourself when you're around this person, or do whatever you have to do. But that's all that I have for you guys today. I know this wasn't like exercise this way and eat this, blah blah blah, whatever, but I gave you the information that actually changed me and actually changed my habits. So I hope that this can help at least one person out there. And thank you for watching, and I hope that I will see you in the next one.